At the J, everyone has that one thing that makes them feel good about themselves. Here, life is full of possibilities. Outside, everything might feel completely chaotic, like the world is against you. But when you are at the J, whether on your own, with a friend, or with many, many friends, life is wonderful. The MAR-JCC becomes the anchor amidst life's uncertainties. Even during the most challenging days, when you are full of doubt and feeling lost, you come through the gate and you just think to yourself, here, I can be somebody. I am somebody. And that makes everything worth it. The hard days, the bad days, the days when it feels hard to function because what's the point? The days when you feel misunderstood, the days you keep thinking to yourself, there has to be something more. And then you realize you found something more. At the J, you live more.
Being at the MAR-JCC reminds you that you are valued, you are growing, and you are contributing to a vibrant and diverse Jewish community. It's where you feel empowered, in control, and part of something greater than yourself. It's in these moments that you realize the MAR-JCC isn't just a place. It's a source of inspiration for personal and communal growth, where every experience, every effort, and every connection is truly meaningful.
Enrich your life. Build community with us. Welcome home.
So, some kids, please take the last two rows, okay? Tomás. Williams, the movie again.
At the J, everyone has that one thing that makes them feel good about themselves. Here, life is full of possibilities. Outside, everything might feel completely chaotic, like the world is against you. But when you are at the J, whether on your own, with a friend, or with
Hi,
many
everybody.
friends,
Hello. I just wanted to let you all know, and you all went through it so you'll understand. The security line was a little bit thick this evening, and so we still have some people waiting to get into the JCC. So we're going to start in a few minutes, but we want to give them time to get through and park. So we'll just be running a few minutes late. Thank you.
even during the most challenging days, when you are full of doubt and feeling lost, you come through the gate and you just think to yourself, here, I can be somebody. I am somebody. And that makes everything worth it. The hard days, the bad days, the days when it feels hard to function because what's the point? The days when you feel misunderstood, the days you keep thinking to yourself, there has to be something more. And then you realize you found something more. At the J, you live more.
I am love.
Being at the MAR JCC reminds you that you are valued, you are growing, and you are contributing to a vibrant and diverse Jewish community. It's where you feel empowered, in control, and part of something greater than yourself. It's in these moments that you realize the MAR JCC isn't just a place. It's a source of inspiration for personal and communal growth, where every experience, every effort, and every connection is truly meaningful.
Enrich your life. Build community with us. Welcome home.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all here. Thank you so much also for your patience. This program is gonna be amazing. You're gonna meet Loay, which is really such a good person, and you're gonna learn so much. My name is Miriam Sirdok. I'm the Director of Adult Engagement here at the Michael and Russell Jewish Community Center. And I am proud to introduce you to Joe Antebi, co-chair of the Hub and board member of the JCC since 2021. So please give him a very big applause. He is great and he helps a lot to put these amazing events together.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Miriam. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Hub. It's truly wonderful to see so many familiar faces here tonight. At the Hub, our mission is simple yet deeply meaningful: connecting lives, inspiring minds. The Hub is a vibrant home within our JCC for adults, young professionals. Here, you'll find programs that both entertain and enrich, from conversations on business and innovation to wellness experiences, cultural encounters, and events focused on being Jewish and Israel. Truly, there is something for everyone. As we continue to affirm our unwavering support to Israel, in all that we do. This program is a proud part of our year-round initiative leading up to Z3 Miami, our annual Zionist conference. We invite you to save the date, April 26, 2026, for a day of profound dialogue and exploration of the most pressing issues facing American Jewry in Israel. If you've been inspired by our events, we encourage you to consider supporting the Hub, our extraordinary department that brings these experiences to life. Simply scan the screen to donate. Is it on?
Yes.
Additionally, we're thrilled to announce our flagship fundraising event of the year, Run with the Hub. We've secured 50 exclusive spots in the sold-out January 25th, 2026 marathon. Join our vibrant community runners. We will meet weekly, train together, and run for a purpose. For more details or to contribute, please scan the screen. We are now on our third season of events, and I invite you to join us fully in the journey. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram at MarJCCHub and stay up to date with all that's coming. And now, it's my great honor to introduce our guest speaker, Loay Alshareef, along with interviewer Denise Tamir. Denise is a seasoned attorney mediator and a passionate Jewish community leader with over 20 years of dedicated service in South Florida. A member of the Greater Miami Jewish Federation Board of Directors, where she serves as a campaign chair of its Israeli division, and she currently serves as my co-chair here at the Hub at the Michael N. Russell JCC. Loay Alshareef is an Arab-Muslim peace advocate, historian, and social media influencer whose mission is to bridge divides between Muslims and Jews and to champion peace in the Middle East. Born and raised in Saudi Arabia to a Saudi-Egyptian family that once held many radical views, Loay experienced a life-changing transformation that reshaped his worldview and ignited his lifelong commitment to peace. He began his media career in Saudi Arabia, working in a language education history and tourism before dedicating himself fully to peace advocacy and promoting the Abraham Accords. Today, Loay is internationally recognized for his interfaith work, his support for Jewish-Muslim reconciliation, and his bold advocacy Israel legitimacy in the region. He is currently based in the United Arab Emirates. With an academic background in software engineering in Penn State and expertise in ancient language and scripts, including Egyptian hieroglyphs and ancient Arabian texts, Loay brings a unique and powerful perspective that blends history, culture, and technology. With over 800,000 followers on Instagram and X, Loay multilingual content reaches a global audience. His clear, courageous voice has made him one of the most compelling figures in peace building and interreligious understanding today. Above all, Loay Alshareef is a pioneering voice of reconciliation, a true bridge builder, helping rewrite the history of Muslims and Jewish relations with hope and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my dear friend Denise Tamir and a dear friend to the Jews and Israel, Loay Alshareef.
So, we spent a little time this afternoon, and we were driving up Collins Avenue in Sunny Isles Beach. And you made a comment to me that I thought was actually pretty hilarious. Can you tell everybody what that was?
Reminds me of Dubai vibes, which is, yeah, so cool. I was in New York before I was in New York, and then I flew to Dallas, and then from Dallas flew here. and New York is so cold. We love cold. We're deprived of cold in the Middle East. But here it's like very, very Dubai, Abu Dhabi vibes. I love it. I love it.
So as somebody who's never been to Dubai, but I am working on it, I promise, now I could imagine what Dubai looks like, because it probably looks just like Sunny Isles Beach. So I want to let everybody know that we have about 60 teens in the audience, and this is the one and only time I'm going to tell them to make some noise. Make some noise, my kids. And that is the only time you're allowed to make some noise tonight, okay? Okay. So, except when it's Q&A, and I told you, Q&A, ask away. We'll get to that soon. So, what were you doing when you were a teenager?
So, when I was a teenager, I was a very religious Muslim. As I said before, born and raised in Saudi Arabia. Both of my families are not radicals, really. But the education at that time in Saudi was so different from the education today. Now, the Crown Prince is a young prince, the new Crown Prince, Prince Mohammed. He's very young, very active, and he's a reformer. He really moved things forward, and many of the things that we were indoctrinated with, he removed. And he really introduced a new version of Islam that is very compatible with modern world. But late 90s, what I was indoctrinated with is different from what I see right now in the curricula. So I grew up really hating Jews. And to make you feel better, Jews first, Christians second. So it's Jews first, Christians second, atheists, polytheists, communists third.
What do they teach you about Jews?
You should never take Jews and Christians as friends. Jews are the eternal enemies of Muslims. Jews are conspiring against Muslims to take their wealth. We believed in something called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Guilty as Charged, one of my favorite books when I was young. One of my favorite. Egyptian TV drama depicted Jews as evil, as those who are trying to come to our region to deploy a white colonialist European project that is called Israel. And I believed these lies. And I was so faithful to them. You have to know I was so religious that I memorized the whole Quran at the age of 17. I still have, you can clap, yeah, of course. I have the certificate in 1996 from Jeddah, from the school that I went to, that says Loay passed memorizing of the Quran. But everything changed when I first had the encounter with a Jewish family in 2010. So everything changed by then.
So let's unpack that for a minute, because basically, as you tell your story, you went from being a very radical, very devout Muslim to basically...
Salafi, we call Salafi. Salafi is like someone who is like very strictly, the interpretations of the Quran, we should take it to the letter. And this is what we were taught. This is what I knew.
Yeah. So how did you go from that to being one of the most important influencers in the pro-Israel and pro-peace space?
First of all, Baruch Hashem, it's God's work. I believe that God really, listen, I'm still a Muslim, and I really love religion, and I really love faith. And I say that this void should never be left, because, you know, spirituality and religion really feels a good, but you don't have to go all the way right or all the way left. It's something in the middle. I decided in 2010, I was 27 at that time. Now I'm 42. So at that time, I decided to learn French as a second language, because I was working in a multinational company as a software engineer, and learning French would, especially in that company, would give you a boost in your career. Like if you're working for Siemens, which is a Saudi-German company in Saudi, if you learn German, you would get a boost. So I was working in a Saudi-French company. So Loay, there is a program, it's called Host Family. You live with a family to improve your French, to learn French, and also to boost the language. And by coincidence, that family that I ended up with was Jewish. Never knew that. But it was like, it was an eye-opening to me. And I still have the email from 2010 when I learned that they are Jews, I wrote an email to the school asking for a transfer. Because how dare you put me with a Jewish family? How dare you? And I wrote nasty things in the email. I want to say one thing. When these photos of the emails and everything, they didn't come out yet. I didn't show them up yet on social media. And maybe, inshallah, I'll put them in my next book. When these come out, I want you to know that I'm not proud of that person. I'm not proud of the person that I was, but I'm definitely proud of the person I become. So I really changed through dialogue, through discussions, and dismantling hate in that period of time that I spent in Paris with that Jewish family. And I always say I went to Paris to study French, ended up learning Judaism and Hebrew. But no regrets. It was it was a nice experience. It was a nice experience, really.
So how did your family and your friends and your social circles, how did they deal with this journey that you
My
found
mom,
yourself
God
on?
bless her, when I returned to Jeddah, I remember that I was having a discussion with her that I'm having at that time, 2011, like when I returned from 2010. 2011, it was the big boom of something called YouTube. And I was telling my mom that I'm spending more time on YouTube learning about Judaism, learning about Israel, learning about Rambam, Jonathan Sachs. And my mom was like, you are just under a sudden fascination. It will just go away. Because I know you, because I was so religious, like very, very religious, anti-Jewish, anti-Israel. And I told her, but I have so many questions that I didn't find answers for. And I really feel that hate is consuming me. And I think it's not the only way, it's not the way forward. And she said 2 months, 15 years, and counting. 15
Wow.
years and counting. But you know how I changed? It's not just emotional. No, it's because I really found the keys to dismantle hate that I was indoctrinated with. So I swallowed the evil of radicalization, but I also had the ability to expunge it. How did I do this? By learning more from the source, not from the adversaries. I learned Judaism from the source, from a Jewish source, not from the adversaries of Jews, the anti-Semitic Arab professors in the Gulf or in the Arab world. I also discovered so many lies that were told about the Jews. And I learned more about the history of Israel. Even though Israel, I really believe that it was a good state in 2016 when I learned that many Israelis are Arabs and Muslims. We are not taught that. We would never hear that in Al Jazeera. Israel is a Jewish state, which is correct. But they forget to add one thing. It's not exclusive to Jews. There are 2 million Arabs who work, who live in Israel, who are Muslims and Christians and Israelis. They always drop that part. I found so many things missing in a puzzle. And I connected the dots, and this is how I changed. It was not because of the family in Paris were so good in cooking, which is true. It's not because of the jahnoon every Saturday. No, it's because really, like, I believe even when I hated Jews, I was searching for God, and I believe He touched my heart. After 2011, I started my media career in Saudi, and it was a very successful career. And I always say, thank God. Really, it's God who made things work. I really changed, and that change, you can see the effect of that when I started my media career. Because from 2011, when I started my media career in Saudi, to 2019, before I started to become very vocal about my advocacy for Israel, I received 4 national awards in Saudi Arabia, and I have them all on my Instagram. You can see me receiving the awards from the Prince of Mecca, from the Minister of Education. I received the best educational idea in Saudi Arabia 2013, the best tourism show in 2016. I was very well beloved by everyone. The moment you start, and I was the historian buff, the history buff that everyone, Loay, we want you to tell us more about the history of ancient Arabians? Who are the Nabateans? Who are the Lihyanites? Who are those Arabs who are our ancestors who lived there? Everyone was taking me as a reference. The moment you speak about Israel, now we don't know you. We don't claim you. Who are you? And I want to tell you one thing. I started to speak about Israel from a historical point of view. When the previous, or when the current administration, in its first term, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, I wrote a tweet why Jerusalem is so significant to the Jewish people and why it's not significant to us as Muslims, historically. Because Jerusalem was never significant to us. Jerusalem gained its significance only after the Crusades. And I wrote so many things. It was a very historical tweet. It was so nice. Al Jazeera picked it up. Al Jazeera is labeling me as the head chief of Arab normalizers. You know what the word normalizer means in the Arab world?
Yes.
Someone who wants to normalize relations between Arabs and Israelis. It's like an accusation. Well, I'm a proud normalizer, even though I'm so mad at Al Jazeera because they put me.
They labeled you.
Yeah, no, not for that. They put me as the first for so many years, and now they downgraded me to the fifth.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
That's like a big downgrade. Why? I mean, like.
Yeah. No, so you wear the moniker with pride.
Yes, okay. Yeah. Now they put some other people, like some media persons, as the first.
So, you mentioned the beginning of your social media career, and you started on YouTube. Now you have 800,000 followers across multiple platforms.
Instagram, mainly. Please follow me on Instagram.
Instagram.
And X.
Yeah. And so you've now emerged as one of the most influential voices that supports Israel, the Jewish people, and building the bridges of understanding required to achieve peace. What tips do you have? We have a lot of students in this room, and this is where they live. They live on all these social media platforms. So what tips do you have for our young people in the audience? How best to fight the misinformation that they see, and how can they leverage their very important voices?
So let me answer it the way I do it. Why am I defending Israel? Why am I defending, like, for example, interfaith with the Jewish people? I take it from a very well-versed perspective. I always tell my Arab audience and my Muslim audience, I defend the legitimacy of Israel because it's an integral part of my legitimacy as a Muslim. How? You're saying, well, this is why I always say, you don't have to be Jewish to be Zionist. You can also be a Muslim and a Zionist. I'll tell you, I know I'll unpack this. I defend the legitimacy of Israel because, as a Muslim, ironically, but please hold your laughs, we are 1.8 billion people. We honor, revere, respect, and name our children after Jewish prophets, kings, and heroes. We name our children and we name ourselves after individuals that we don't know anything about. Just we know that their names are mentioned in the Quran. Yeah, the Quran mentioned Dawood. I'm going to name my child Dawood, which is the Arabic equivalent of David. But who David was? No, don't get me into the details. No, I want to get you into the details of who David was. David who praised Zion. David who praised the God of Israel. David who defeated the Jebusites and moved the capital of the kingdom of Israel from Shechem or Hebron to Jerusalem on a high hill. David who said, "Blessed is the Lord, the God of Israel forever and ever, amen and amen." David who in our Quran defeated Goliath. You know who Goliath was? Yeah, he was the enemy of God. No. Goliath was a Philistine from Gat. The Philistines had 5 strongholds: Gat, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, and Akron. He was from Gat, and he defied the children of Israel, the prophets, kings, and heroes that you are named after. And many of those enemies, as one of the Psalms say, that they dreamed of eradicating the name of Israel so that it's not mentioned anymore. It is a moral integrity of defending this legacy, of this heritage, because as a Muslim, I honor it as well. The difference between me and many Muslims who recognize these facts is that, yeah, but the children of Israel in the Quran are different from the children of Israel who are of today that are Ashkenazis, East Europeans. And I say they are the same language, the same rituals, the same beliefs, the same set of beliefs, and also the same holidays and the same festivals. It makes a big difference. And I want to tell you why. We as Muslims believe in Jesus. We accept Jesus. We love Jesus. And Jesus, if you study his words so well, if you study what he did in the Gospels, born in Bethlehem, Judea, raised between Capernaum and Nazareth, he wore tzitzit. He was greeted by his followers as the Mashiach, the Messiah. Muslims who say, I accept Jesus as a Messiah and I hate Israel, you don't understand that the Messiah in the Jewish mindset is the King of Israel. How could you do this? This is the lack of knowledge. And Jesus, according to our faith, was a prophet. You know how many Jewish holidays he celebrated? All. But there is one significant. The most Zionist holiday, Jesus celebrated it. You know what that is? Hanukkah. It's called in the Gospel the Festival of Dedication. And what is Hanukkah all about? Hanukkah is about a Jewish family, it's called the Maccabi or the Hasmoneans, who defeated the Seleucids. Who are the Seleucids? When Alexander the Great died, you had the Egyptian Greeks, who are called the Ptolemies, and the Levant Greeks, who are called the Seleucids. So one of them is called Antiochus. He defied the Jews, and he said, I will Hellenize the land of Judea. And some Maccabees stood against him and said, this is our land, and we will fight for its sovereignty. So Hanukkah is not just a religious holiday. It's a religious and a political holiday. And Jesus celebrated that. Why saying Jesus? Because we have kings in Arabia till today named Isa, which is Isos, which is, by the way, Jesus is Joshua. And I keep this, but this is how I defend the legitimacy of Israel. Facts, knowledge, and the truth. And it's it's working.
So I guess right, absolutely. So I guess the number one tip is knowledge, awareness, know who you are, and know how to explain it.
Yes, you have to know how to explain it, and you have to be proud of your identity. And you have to be also proud of being a Zionist, because Zionism is not racism. It's, you know what Zionism is in one single line. I can define Zionism in one single line, not 2, 3, 1. The right of the Jewish people of self-determination in their ancestral homeland, period. Why would a Muslim have a problem with this concept if he's named after all of these Zionist prophets? By the way, you know one of the most Zionist prophets that many Muslims are named after? Yunus. You know who Yunus was? Yunus comes from the Greek name Eonas. Eonas comes from the Hebrew Yonah, which is a dove. And he was a Zionist. I'll tell you what do I mean by a Zionist. Yonah, when he received the command of God to go to Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, he said, how could you ask me to go to the capital of my enemies, Assyria, and ask for the repentance, and I know that you would forgive them. I'm not going to go. And he escaped. He wanted to go all the way to Tarshish, modern-day Spain, because he was so proud of his identity. And yes, we love Yunus. My kid's name is Yunus. We love Yunus, but we don't know anything about him, and don't get me into the details, Loay. I love Yunus and that's it. No, you have to know. Knowledge is very important. And if you ask me, I dismantled hate with this kind of knowledge, and I realize how common, what are the commonalities that we have with our Jewish brothers. It's tremendous, enormous. If someone has a bird-eye view, seeing Muslims and Jews fighting, and having the understanding of these commonalities, he would say, why are these two madmen fighting? Why these two madmen are fighting when we have all of these commonalities? But of course, you need to have the inner battle, just like I had it, between what you were indoctrinated with and facts. And you need to have the courage to say, many of things that I was indoctrinated with are wrong. And I had this courage.
Okay, I want to pivot a little bit to some of your work. You go on speaking tours, you have traveled the world, you're speaking a lot on college campuses.
And that was unintentional, by the way. I want to tell you one thing. When October 7 happened, I decided to speak up because I don't want to shock you. many people in the Arab world were celebrating October 7th. And in that morning, in that very morning, I asked myself a question. You're speaking about the Abraham Accords, peace and everything. That was time of prosperity. Now at the times of hardship, will you speak up? And I said to myself, if you have really changed, you have to speak up. There is a price to pay, but you know, I really felt what God said to Joshua, it was said to me. You know, one of the greatest verses in the entire Tanakh, the first passage, when God said to Joshua, "Halot sefviticha hazak ve'ematz al ta'aros ve'al tehat ki immicha Adonai Elohecha bechol asher tilech." That I am the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. This is also the words of God that he said to Hagar. Hagar, when she said, okay, Sarah doesn't want Ishmael, who was a bully, in the house, and I have to kick him out, but he's also your son. And God said to Abraham and Hagar, I will take care of the boy. There is something that God will take care of you. You do the right thing, don't mind the consequences, I will intervene. And this is why I lost many opportunities in the Arab world. But guess what? I'm touring the world, speaking in Latvia, Estonia, Belgium, South Africa, the Netherlands, Italy. If you ask me in 2023, do you see yourselves? I said, what are you, come on. I see myself speaking in Riyadh and Abu Dhabi and maybe by far Cairo. That's it. But I didn't see that coming. So God closed so many doors, but he opened more windows. And I'm so grateful that he did that. And now I'm here in Miami.
Yeah. And we are thrilled to have you. Absolutely. Thank you
And
so much.
I'm so
for being
honored
here.
to be here. And thank you all for coming. I don't take things for granted, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
So, especially in the wake of October 7th, what are you seeing on college campuses? And that's question one. And then question two, because you've traveled all over the world on college campuses and beyond to Jewish audiences and non-Jewish audiences, do you see any difference between what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the United States?
Yes. So in the United States, it's not as bad as Europe. Europe is, especially some countries in Europe, lost cause.
I'm just going to ask, can everybody hear him okay?
Okay. So I want to say one thing. What I notice in so many college campuses here in the U.S. that, with all due respect, many white American Gen Zs think that they know the Middle East far better than Middle Easterns. And I keep telling them, you're wrong. You don't know the Middle East far better than we do. You've never been to the Middle East. You don't know the ideology of Hamas like someone who was indoctrinated with it and defeated it. No, they are I was told that in Providence, Rhode Island University. No, they are freedom fighters. Have you read their charter? Yes, I have. I asked one student to show me the charter of Hamas. And they showed me two links. You know, it's not only that I know that they have a charter. I know that they have a watered-down one and the original one. I said, show it to me. He showed it to me. I said, you haven't read it. No, it is here. No, it's in English. You have to read it in Arabic. You have to understand how evasive they are. You have to understand that they are not fighting for a piece of land. They are not fighting for peace. Of course, for peace, according to Hamas, they want peace. But their peace is the annihilation of Israel and the Jewish people. But they are fighting because they believe that when you kill Jews, you will be rewarded. And many Americans, with all due respect, in so many different campuses, they don't get that idea. And this is why I always say to them, maybe now you condemn Israel. Maybe now you condemn the IDF. But take it from someone who knows so well. There will come a day where humanity will clap for those heroes who fought those monsters in Gaza, and they will realize that Israel was not fighting on its behalf. It was fighting on behalf of humanity.
Back to the question about Europe and the United States. because my husband and I often debate about this. I always say, well, the United States is about 10 years behind Europe, you know. And
No, I disagree. I think in Europe it's worse, and you know it's so annoying that many people here in the West don't get the idea that there are people who are misusing the liberal freedom that you provide, and they are using this liberal freedom to destroy the society from the within. I'll give you an example. Hamas, when they reached power in 2006, they used democracy. They won. They used democracy as a ladder. As soon as they reached the top, they threw the ladder away. No more democracy, خلاص. And we'll do also a coup d'etat against Fatah. And when Saudi intervened to group the two groups to have a unified government, all the efforts were futile. Many radicals who come here to your country and to Europe are applying the same methods. And I don't want to get into politics, but many leftists don't get it right. And they think because many of them are good humans, they have good hearts, but it's not in the right place. This is why I always say to them, I say to American students in campuses, I appreciate that you're showing empathy to the Palestinians, and I do as well. The Palestinians are not my enemy. Hamas is, radical Islamists are, Islamic Jihad is, these extremists are, because with all due respect, I know them far better than you do, and I empathize with the Palestinians, and no one would want to see Gazans die and everything, but the conditions that Hamas created in Gaza made it impossible not to have collateral damage. And one is too many. I understand that. And I say it with a heavy heart that it saddens every single one of us when we see innocent people die. But let's put the blame on those who deserve to be blamed. And I said it in the European Parliament. I am not going to fall into this fallacy of saying, yeah, I blame Hamas, and I also blame Israel. Or in specific, I blame the Prime Minister of Israel. I said, no, I'm not going to fall into that. If you all decide to choose the Prime Minister as a scapegoat, I'm not going to do this, because you have to provide me another solution. What would you do? How would you act? How would you take a decision? I'm not saying that the IDF is not making some mistakes, but I'm just saying, overall, this war is a justified war. It's a war that Israel didn't ask for, didn't want, and didn't start. And I'm not going to fall into this, we have to blame both sides to appear cool. No. My moral compass is correct. He's in the right place. The blame should solely be on Hamas. And I had a debate in North Texas University 2 days ago with a Muslim student who said, okay, I blame Hamas and I hate Hamas and everything, but you have to also blame the Prime Minister. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to blame the IDF as well, because it's not a war that they started. It's a war that Hamas has to be solely be blamed for.
Okay.
And I don't really defend governments. I always say I defend the legitimacy of Israel. My problem with my surroundings, the biggest misinformation that people have about Israel in the Arab world is not this prime minister or that prime minister, is the idea that Israel is legitimate. And I will fight for this, and I will take this fight till the end of days. Israel's legitimacy should never be questioned.
So I want to go back to a time before October 7th, because you came out very, very early on as a very strong voice supporting the peace process and obviously the Abraham Accords. The peace process that started with Anwar Sadat seems to have changed over time, and the focus, and we talked about it earlier. Why did the Abraham Accords feel different from the other peace processes that we've had in the past?
Sadat is my hero. May God...
I'll give you that one too.
Yeah. Sadat wanted a genuine peace between Egypt and Israel. And the proof of that he paid his life for it. Mubarak, his successor, backed away because he saw, no, I'm not going to pay my life for that. And I believe he should have started with re-educating the population. So peace between Egypt and Israel, and Jordan and Israel, is not a genuine peace. I call it security agreements. But the Abraham Accords, different. And the Abraham Accords, I have to say one thing. In the domain of the Middle East, okay, I'm not going to go into domestic politics. In the domain of the Middle East, take it from an indigenous Middle Eastern, Abraham Accords are the greatest breakthrough in American foreign diplomacy, and we have to give the credit to President Donald Trump. I don't want to get very political, but I'm talking about the domain of the Middle East. I'm not talking about other domains. But for us, President Trump and his team, Jared, Avi Berkowitz, the amazing people who worked on that, first of all, God bless them for honoring Abraham. They didn't call it normalization deals. They didn't call it the UAE-Israel Accords. They called it Abraham. And that is so significant because Ishmael and Isaac did not communicate in their adult life. But they reconciled when Abraham died. When Isaac wrote to Ishmael that our father passed away, they both buried him in Hebron, Khalil. And the Abraham Accords form some sort of a reconciliation of Muslim-Jewish relations. And I wrote a post the other day when Jared Kushner talked about the importance of this Muslim-Jewish reconciliation because the Abraham Accords, as I told you, is people to people. And you know when I really realized that? When I saw one of my cousins from Saudi sending me a video on Instagram, and I pinned his video. He said, Loay, because of your videos, I want to tell you that I'm going this Friday to Dubai to have a Shabbat dinner with an Israeli Jewish family that I got to know in JITEX forum in Dubai, and now we are friends. This is what the Abraham Accords do. They bring people-to-people relations. And even though we had this ugly war that Hamas started and should be solely blamed for, the Abraham Accords withstood. And because of the Abraham Accords, the UAE leveraged that by sending more aid into Gaza, because you need to have a better coordination with Israel, and built a field hospital for that. So for me, the Abraham Accords, this is why I always say I'm a big defender of the Abraham Accords, because I see the Abraham Accords are the future of the Middle East. And Abraham, that these accords were named after him, would look down to his children, be proud of seeing them working on their commonalities rather than fighting over their differences.
So you were raised, just to follow up, you were raised in Saudi Arabia. You live now in the UAE. Based on your experience and your insights, do you believe we will be able to expand the Abraham Accords in the future? And
it's not easy, especially after the war. I trust the Crown Prince. I believe he's a great leader. He really wants to have a full integration. And at the same time, you have to understand his concerns. You have to understand that many of the population became very against Israel when this war happened. And many of them, by the way, I'll be very honest as well, they are against Hamas. But they see that it's too much that is happening. And unfortunately, dealing with this kind of situation is hard. Let me say it again. I am optimistic, but I'll tell you why. And I'm really, the last political comment that I'm going to give. Because our Middle East is a tough neighborhood, very tough neighborhood. For this tough neighborhood to work out so good, you need to have a tough president in the White House, and we have one.
Earlier today, you shared a story that I had not known, and I'm really kind of in the weeds on a lot of this stuff, and I found this fascinating. You talked to me about why the UAE was so ready for the Abraham Accords so early on. It has a bit of history and a bit of 9/11, and I'd like you to unpack that a little bit, because I think what we discussed earlier really can be a roadmap for the future.
So the president of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed, in 2002, he was the crown prince. And he asked about the perpetrators of 9/11. There were 19, 15 from Saudi, 1 from Egypt, 1 from Lebanon, and 2 from the UAE. And he said, why 2 are from the UAE? I want a thorough investigation. Why 2 are from the UAE? And then the results were astonishing, that these were radicalized because of the education. And he decided to do a rehabilitation of the education system, to introduce concepts of tolerance, coexistence, commonalities that we have with different faiths, not only Jews and Christians, with different faiths. Look at the UAE now, in 2025. You have a Hindu temple, you have a Jewish community, many communities with an S plural. You have the Chabad, you have the you have Eastern, you have many Christian denominations, you have 200 plus nationalities working in peace and harmony. Personal freedom in the UAE is untouchable. Places of worship so sacred, but that was because of a vision of a leader, because he asked a sincere question: why 2 from the UAE were among the perpetrators of 9/11? And if you ask me, 15 from Saudi, 1 from Egypt, I understand, because I'll be very honest with you, education. Many of us, and I'm so sorry to say this, many of us in the Arab world felt indifferent when 9/11 happened. Some of us were even happy, because Al Jazeera, by the way, is not an innocent TV channel. Al Jazeera made us believe that this was an attack against the imperialist power in the Middle, the imperialist power that wants to take the wealth of the Middle East, and didn't defend the perpetrators directly, but this is how it was depicted. So it was a decision by Sheikh Mohammed, and he succeeded. And the UAE will play, I'm so sure, will play a big role in de-radicalizing Gazans when things settle down. But if you go to the UAE and you see how people are welcome even to the mosque of Sheikh Zayed, people have this big great freedom when it comes to religious freedom. It was a decision based on thorough investigation, and it led to education curricula. This is why I always say to our dear Palestinian brothers, we have to do 2 things. Top-down change, which is fast, by finding a Palestinian leadership that is willing to live side by side with Israel, accept Israel as a Jewish state, and stop teaching their population hate. And second approach, which is the mid-long term, just like the UAE did, education curricula. They have to change.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you for sharing. I wanted you to share that because for me, I think that's one of the most hopeful things I've heard in a very long time, that de-radicalization is possible, but it all starts with how you educate the next generation.
Of course. So, it's very important. It's very important. And we can do a lot about that. I was in South Africa with a rabbi. His name is Rabbi Raymond. We talked about how we can introduce some elements of Muslim-Jewish. It is doable. The problem is, it is doable, but no one has done it for a very long time because we're not communicating. Mm-hmm. But it's doable, and I'm very optimistic.
Mm-hmm. So I understand you were in Israel post-October 7th, and you
7 times.
Huh?
7
Several
times.
times. Yeah, me too. And an experience that we both share is being in Kibbutz Be'eri very, very early on in the aftermath of October 7th. So can you share a little bit about that experience and how that impacted your thinking?
Let me tell you the first thing that impacted my visit to Israel. As soon as I landed, I was welcomed by a missile from the Houthis.
By what?
A missile from the Houthis.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
My husband and I call that the l'chouch delivery.
L'chouch delivery. So what did I do? I went to a safe room. I went to a shelter. You know what I realized? Wow, this is a country that is very protective of its citizens, visitors, that it built shelters for them. I hope, or I wish that Hamas would have built shelters for the Palestinians. And when they were asked, why didn't you build shelters for the Palestinians? Or why didn't you hide the population in the tunnels? You know what they said? The tunnels are for our fighters. but the population of Gaza is the responsibility of the United Nations. I'm not kidding. This is a very straightforward statement by a leadership that shows you they don't care about their people. But Israel, I felt, even though I'm not an Israeli, I felt that, wow, you cannot defeat those who celebrate life. And those who celebrate life, like the Israelis, should know that they will never be defeated by those who worship death, like the Houthis and Hamas. That is the first feeling that I got, that Israel really values lives. And also when I went to Be'eri and I went to the supernova also, devastating. I wasn't very surprised of when I heard some testimonials from people who were there, because I said, I know how these people think. I know how Hamas fighters, when they invaded Israel, it was not about free. By the way, October 7, FYI, you have to know, October 7 was orchestrated for one single reason: to torpedo the upcoming peace between Saudi and Israel. Simple, basic, and elementary dot. Sinwar knew that this would lead to that. And he said it's worth it. You know why? Because he knew if Saudi normalizes, whirlwind, many other Muslim countries will follow suit. And he said it's worth it. It's worth the price. But he doesn't care about his people. They don't care about their people. And many people are opening their eyes when they see now Hamas torturing their own people in Gaza without trials, without prosecution. It's just like, public execution. And when you see it in Israel, it's how people value life, how people took, also when my first visit to Israel, I visited the Peres Center. And I said, Wallahi, big respect to Israel. Big respect. You know why? In Peres Center, I saw the innovations that Israel gave to the world. It is absolutely unbelievable. A country of the size of New Jersey gave the world cherry tomatoes, gave the world the most used navigational app in Saudi Arabia, Waze, gave the world USB, gave the world the application that is considered the foundation of so many messaging apps, ICQ, gave the world Philicam. A country of the size of New Jersey gave humanity a lot. And because Israel is so humane, it will prevail. It is humane to a level that they treated Sinwar.
Thank you. So I want to open it up to questions from the audience. Maybe we could turn on the house lights. And do we have a microphone that can go around?
But to be very honest, the greatest weapon that Israel has, other than Philicam and USB and everything, it's history. It's archaeological history. It's biblical history. I said in one of my videos that went so viral, even though I believe it was a very boring video because it was a very historical video, but it got 2 million views. I said Israel's greatest weapon, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the history that it has, and my message to so many Israelis before we take questions, not only that you should be proud of the heritage of this country, if you don't feel proud, with all due respect, you lose legitimacy. You lose legitimacy.
The question is regarding your blaming Hamas solely for the war that's been going on for 2 years. How can you deny or ignore the role of other countries like Qatar, who has supplied funding and has kept their leadership safe for many years, Iran that supplied weapons and money, even Western Europe and other countries that have supplied money to the Palestinians living in Gaza, the money which has been used for building its terror infrastructure. How can you ignore all these other people and not blame them for their role in this war?
Of course, all of the players that you mentioned are blamed, but Hamas took the decision. I really believe that Hamas took the decision without going back to Iran, without going back to Qatar, without going back. I believe it was Sinwar's decision, and I truly believe in that. Even Hamas political bureau didn't know about October 7. I believe it was purely a decision by Sinwar and maybe Mohammed al-Daif. But of course, all other players are blamed. But for this war in specific, you have two parties, Hamas and Israel. And many people are saying, why you're not blaming Israel as much as you're blaming Hamas? I say I blame solely Hamas because Hamas started this war to torpedo the upcoming peace. 2 weeks before October 7, there was an interview by the Crown Prince. And he said, every day we're getting closer to have peace with Israel. And that, in my opinion, made Sinwar go nuts. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to launch this attack. One other thing, I had discussions with some people from Qatar. I told, how could you finance these people? You know, but they have something to say. They say, Loay, honestly, we were asked by Obama and by the Israelis to open an office for Hamas in 2011, I think, or 2010. Many of us don't want that, but we were asked. So you have to take this into consideration as well. It was a big mistake to have this request, in my opinion.
Loay, how are you? If it's okay, I'd like to ask my question in Arabic, and maybe you can translate to everybody.
Hold the microphone closer.
I said, if it's okay, can I ask my question in Arabic?
Of course.
Thank you.
Only if you translate it afterwards.
I will.
في هالقدر خلق من العرب تعلموا يحكوا عبراني.
صح.
ايش رأيك لازم يتعلموا اولاد اليهود يقروا عربي؟
طبعا. So he's saying that many Arabs are learning Hebrew. Do you think many Jews and many Israelis should learn Arabic? I say it's essential. I tell you why. Not on the expense of Hebrew, of course. Hebrew should be the national language of Israel. But Israel's destined to live in an Arab neighborhood. And a big mistake that Israel is doing is not doing enough PR in Arabic to its Arab neighbors. Of course, there are great accounts in the Misrat Akhuts, in the Israeli Foreign Ministry, but it's not enough. It has to be the population should learn Arabic, and also the Arabs should learn Hebrew, because you know the anti-Semitic professors come to you in social media. Let me tell you more about the Talmud and what it says. And of course, if you don't read Hebrew, or let me tell you what the Israelis are saying in Hebrew, but why would I listen to you? If I had the knowledge, I would open my eyes and learn the truth. It's exactly what I'm just giving an example. When Martin Luther in Germany translated the Bible from Latin to simple German, many people just realized that the church is not doing everything that it says it does. And they realized that there was like a big gap. So with this kind of knowledge, we need to learn Hebrew, and the Jews or the Israelis have to, in my opinion, have to learn Arabic, and Israel is not doing enough good job in populating its message to the Arab neighbors. And I believe it's very important, and I totally agree with you. It is very, very, very important. Jewish state, Hebrew is the official language. It should remain the same, but Arabic should be taught even more to the population. We can take from the...
Any of the kids up there want to ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Marianne?
Okay. Because they're raising their hands like, I want to ask. Huh?
Can you bring the microphone up to the back?
Yeah, so my family, no. My mother, she follows me on social media. That's the most important thing, you know, كبدأت أبيخ بقت إمها. So my mom is the most important. My dad passed away, of course. May his memory be a blessing. Friends, yes. I want to be very blunt. Yeah, friends, yes, some of them, they just think that Mossad bought you, you're doing this because you are in, how to say this, like you sold your dignity, stuff like that. But some other friends, they understand, especially those who were with me from the beginning of the journey. They understand that it's an intellectual journey that led me to these kind of opinions or to these kind of conviction. But of course, some friends that I got to know, for example, like 5 years or so, before October 7, and I told them, you know what, I'm not going to be angry at you because I've been in your shoes and I know exactly how you feel. The door is open whenever you want to come back. And one of them did, by the way. And if you allow me, I'll read a message from someone who exactly did this. After October 7, he came and said, Loay, I have to unfollow you from social media because he's also big in Dubai. And he said, many people are coming at, why are you following this Zionist? Why are you following this Zionist? And I'll show you the message. A couple of months ago, in specific in May, he sent me this message, May of this year, 2025. So his name is Fahad. Loay, I'm sorry, 1st of February 2025. Hi Loay, this is Fahad, your friend. I hope you don't hate my, I don't hate my guts, he said. Anyway, bro, let me know if you got a minute to talk. I want to tell you that I've been following you on Instagram, and I owe you an apology because I really believe in what you're doing. I saw perseverance in what you do, and I think it's genuine. Please keep going.
Wow.
So perseverance, because he might maybe watched a video or two and said, that's propaganda. But if you have the perseverance in delivering the same message, with empathy, without bad-mouthing the Palestinians or standing against it, because I always say I'm not against the Palestinians. I'm against Hamas and the Islamic Jihad and the radicals, who I know them far better than the Westerns, with all due respect, Gen Zs. And my message is really for peace. And I really want my people, my neighborhood, my Arab world, not to recognize Israel as a state because it's just a fact of the matter no. It has to be a genuine recognition that Israel is there because it has always been there, that Israel is not 77 years, that Israel is not 70 years old or 77, it's 3,000 years old, 77 years young, and you Jews are originally from the Middle East. By the way, why Jews are called Jews? You were never called Jews before 586 BCE. You were called Hebrews or Israelites. Jonah, speaking of Jonah, when he was put in the boat and people were blaming him, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? He said, Ivri Anochi. I'm only a Hebrew. After 586, 721 BCE, Assyrians took Israel into captivity. 586, Babylonians took Judeans into captivity. And when they were inquiring about their origins, where are you guys from? Where you guys are from? They said, we come from the portion of the land that one of our ancestors, named Joshua bin Nun, partitioned this land, naming it after our 12 ancestors. And we come from that portion of the land that is called Judah. So we are from Judah. We are the Jews. If the majority of the people were taken from the portion of the land that Joshua partitioned, Ephraim, all of you now would be called the Ephraimites, or the Danites, or the Benjaminites, but you're called Jews because your ancestors were taken from the portion of the land that was named after the fourth son of Jacob, Yehuda. This is why you're called Yehudim, Jews. Very important to explain that to people in the Arab world.
Absolutely. Any more questions from up there? Where's the microphone?
Right here. Loay, thank you very much for the wonderful person you are. You mentioned PR. You mentioned, the effort of winning hearts and minds, and how Israel is failing at that. I think, and from having
can do better. I don't want to say failing. Can do
no,
better.
I think we can be blunt. When you speak with people in that world and conducting those efforts,
the standing line of thought has been, we can't win the social media battle. There's just too many.
I know, you're outnumbered.
And so now, and that's one reason. The other reason is we can't fight against sovereign states. You have Russia, you have Qatar, you have Iran, less relevant now, that are putting the state money behind it. So the question I have is, from your perspective, can there be a push from someone like MBS, who is boldly putting the state money to work in so many areas for the advancement of Saudi Arabia, and who finds himself limited by Al Jazeera? Can there be a way to put some, to advance a new Arab thinking away from the Muslim Brotherhood with the alliance of Israeli minds?
I think he can do it, but it's like he has to. You also have to understand. By the way, it's not a secret. I know his team very well. They're amazing people. Behind closed doors, we say so many things that all peaceful. We want to see a peaceful Middle East. We want to see Israel as part of this region. It's not a secret, just telling you. And but you have to understand the pressure he's facing. And you have to understand also some safety concerns. You have to understand also the pressure he's facing from the youth in Saudi, especially those who were emotionally disturbed by what they see in the war. But I think it is doable in the long run. But back to my point, for this to succeed, we need the help of America. We need the help of America, and we need the help of someone who is passionate about having peace in the Middle East. When you have a strong president who believes in that, this will make our life easier. But when you, God forbid, after 2028, if an American president comes and then he doesn't really believe it, and I say to many politicians in the US, if the Middle East issue is solved, it will reflect positively on domestic issues here in the US. So help us. And the second thing, social media, I agree, you're outnumbered. This is why you need to grow your alliances with your non-Jewish allies, Muslims and Christians and other people of different faith as well. You're not that many, 15 million worldwide. We are 1.8 billion, but there are so many Muslims who are changing their minds. Even if it starts with one, it can end up with millions, but it's doable. And the proof is, you don't want to see the 17-year-old Loay.
Up there?
Hi, so first of all, I wanted to thank you for taking your time to speak to us. My question was that you describe yourself as like standing like in the middle between both sides that like clearly don't really meet.
No, I didn't say that. When it comes to Hamas and Israel, I side completely with Israel. When it comes to Israel and the Palestinians, I side with both because I love both. I love Israel so much. I love the Israelis so much, and I love the Palestinians as much as people, as my brothers, as Arabs. I'm not against the Palestinians, but I'm against Hamas. So when people say who you're siding with, Israel or Hamas, 100% Israel, for sure. So that's just a small correction.
Okay, so like my question was like, what is your actual goal, like doing all this social media and these talks? Like, what do you actually want?
I call for the success, the continuous success of the Abraham Accords, of Israel's to be regionally integrated in the Middle East, of Israel to be part of our region, of a Muslim-Jewish reconciliation. This is what I call for. I don't call for eradication of the Palestinians or fighting against the Palestinians. Of course not. But I call for the eradication of people like Hamas, of course. And I believe that ideologies can be defeated. Nazis were defeated. Europe managed to denazify the Nazis. We can de-radicalize the evil ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood that breeded to us Hamas and the Islamic Jihad and other radicals who are even found haven here in the US. So that's my message. My message is Israel should be regionally integrated. And back to my point, why as a Muslim you believe in that? Because defending the legitimacy of Israel is part of defending the legitimacy of my faith. You can say this to Muslims who say it's not related, then please stop praising prophets, kings, and heroes. Name your children after Muslims who will come to me. By the way, my name is Yusuf. Don't tell me anything. Habibi, your name has no meaning in Arabic, while in Hebrew it means God will increase. My name is Yaqub. My name is Ishaq. Ishaq has no meaning in Arabic, but in Hebrew, Yitzhak, he will laugh. So this is how I touch the minds and hearts of many Muslims, because this is how my mind and heart was touched.
But so how do you think what you're doing is actually helping?
How do I feel about what?
How do you think like what you're doing is helping?
I feel it's helping because I see many people changing minds and hearts. Like I called my cousin, for example, from Saudi, who said, because of your videos, and by the way, his video is on my Instagram, because of your videos, I want to have a Shabbat dinner with a Jewish family, and he's now a good friend with that Jewish family. So if you change one person, or two persons, or three persons, it's the beginning of changing more persons as well. This is my philosophy.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, how are you? So I've heard a lot of things online about Sharia law, and I'm just not sure what it is, like what's the purpose of it and what it does, because I've heard that it's bad and good, and I just want to know your opinion on it.
So Sharia law is the Islamic law of jurisprudence, and many things in the Sharia law, by the way, are very tied to how they appeared in the 7th century. So I want to tell you one thing. For example, we have in the Sharia law things related to laws about slavery. We don't have slavery anymore. So the thing is that when people talk about Sharia law, they talk about laws that they are afraid of, and I totally understand that. But we want to tell people that you can reform it. And many countries did this, like the UAE, for example. The UAE has reformed Sharia law. Saudi Arabia is doing this as well. The astonishing thing is that Sharia law is being reformed in modern Arab states, and it's being more radicalized in America and in Europe. And this is the irony of it. So Sharia law is like, you think of it like a halakha. It's like there are so many good things about Sharia law, for example, that men are circumcised, that the law of what to eat, what not to eat. This is also Sharia law. And also that we have to slaughter animals, for example, before. This is like, but there are so many things about subjugation that are not valid anymore. You have to subjugate the non-Muslims who live in Muslim lands. No one is doing that anymore. And I'll be very blunt. In the 7th century, when everyone is conquering everyone, I understand that there are some laws that maybe could have been valid that time, but they are not valid anymore now. When people think that, we have radical Muslims who say, as long as the Quran talks about slaves and masters, and we don't have slavery now, we have to reinstantiate slavery. And that's nonsense. I know many radicals, by the way, who say that we are not allowed to ride cars, because Allah in the Quran said, I created for you camels, horses, and donkeys to ride. So it's not cars, so I'm not going to ride a car. You have so many radicals who think like this, and they think it's in the Sharia law. So, and I want to tell you one thing, people who are afraid of Sharia law in the West, their fear is justified, because they talk about this kind of Sharia law that they see. But if they come to the UAE, it's totally different.
So, I mean, what you're saying is that there is the ability, or there is a process now of modernizing, of taking...
I believe Islam is now living in the Renaissance.
Yeah.
In the Renaissance of Islam, where you have so many school of thoughts that are modernizing faith, reconciling it with humanity, or like with modern day standards. And those radicals who want to push us and make us live by the standards of the 7th century, they should know that they are losing.
Excellent. Thank you. One more question?
Hi. I think you're great. I've been following you for a long time.
I hope you like what you see.
I do. And I have learned a lot about history, my own history, my people's history from you. in a straightforward manner, and there are very, very few people that know that.
Baruch
There are a
Hashem,
couple
thank
of-
God.
I would like to have your opinion on how you look at, for instance, Iran. They were Persians. They weren't even Arabs. And when did they become Arabs?
Yes.
And why are they doing this aside from, they are really taking hold of Arab culture and turning it into something that it didn't have to be, and it wasn't always. And also, you said you've spoken on campus to many people. I grew up in New York. I had an Orthodox Jewish education. I had a lot of friends at Columbia and at Harvard, and they were pro-Palestinian. These were guys that I learned with in school. I knew them, and I said to them, could you explain to me why you were convinced that this was the right thing to do? And they really didn't have any good explanation.
It's trendy. It's
So
nice.
what exactly, what's the question? Just
Well, the question is
About Iran.
what his opinion about Iran was, and also what his opinion was about how these students, who are bright people normally, it's like a virus came and hit them. And
Yes.
there's no explanation that I can think of.
Iran, I want to answer your question. Iran, of course, is the bully in the neighborhood. But Iran, I want to tell you one thing. Iran, the Persians were the greatest supporters of the Jewish people 2,000 years ago. And I always say, when people blame Balfour for his declaration, I say there was someone who was worse than Balfour. Cyrus the Great. He was the one who commanded the Jews and also all those who are captivated in his territorial controlled lands to go back to where they come from. And he commanded me to build him a house in Jerusalem that is in Judea. These are the words of Cyrus. So I say that I agree with you. The Persians have no problem with Jews, but the Islamic Republic of Iran, when they came into power, they are Shiite Muslims. You have to understand, Shiite Islam, I'm a Sunni, but Shiite Islam, our dear brothers, of course, Shiite Islam, there is zero significance of Jerusalem or of the Holy Land. They follow 12 imams who were traveling all around. None of them visited Jerusalem. So why are they doing this? Because they want to proselytize the Sunni countries. And they looked at the map. Who is stopping us from doing so? Who is the deterrence that is stopping us from taking over our neighborhood? You know who is the deterrence? Israel. How can we defeat Israel? We have to hop on the Palestinian cause to destroy Israel, and then we can move on to proselytizing Muslim countries or Sunni countries. That is the real reason that many people do not understand. That is this is the real reason that many don't understand in campuses. And I spoke about that in one of the American students when he asked me about that. It's very important to mention that. But the Persian people or the Iranians are amazing people, lovely people, great. And I hope that one day we'll have meaningful peace with a leadership that believes in this kind of historical relation between the Iranians and the Israelis. Yeah, so that's it.
Amazing. One more question over here, and I wish we could take all the questions, but before the question, I just want to recognize that tonight the teens joined us, which is the future of the Jewish people. So thank you so much for being here. Very, very special.
at this point,
Thank you for being here. My question has to do with Saudi Arabia, in particular, with their educational system. With the new prince in charge now, are there any laws or decrees for your schools and your TV stations that are constantly, I shouldn't say constantly, that are doing demeaning things for children with the cartoons, the code of ethics that promulgate some of the schools? What is the present government in Saudi Arabia doing to curb these obnoxious tactics?
Well, I want to tell you one thing. I'm very optimistic about what's happening because the education and curricula in 2022 I looked at, and it was like very promising. Kids are taught that our Jewish cousins are not working on Saturday because Saturday is a day that God rested, and it's a holy day. This is why we have to understand why our Jewish cousins are not. This is not what I was taught in late 90s. To be very honest. So I see a great shift. There is one single problem. Old curricula are still circulated. So, and you still have radicals who spread the ideology of hate, and they took advantage of that with this war. But overall, I believe that the seed had been planted already, and we will see the result in the next generation. But it can speed up if we have peace, because we are people who follow the king. We are monarchies. We are people who follow the king. If the king says we're going to do this, we think it's in our best interest to follow the leadership. So I pray that God gives strength and courage to the crown prince that he does the right step. And I understand at the same time that he's very well concerned about the youth, about the anger in the public opinion against Israel for the war. But I always say that with the support of God first and then a strong American leadership, I believe it's doable. Overall, I'm very optimistic. As I told you, what I see in TV stations and newspapers, education curricula, far better than what we saw in late 90s. Far better. That makes me hopeful.
It's almost ironic that the curriculum in the Middle East and in the moderate states are becoming more and more Israel-friendly, for lack of a better way of expressing it, and our curriculum here in the United States, particularly in California and other school systems, is literally showing maps where Israel doesn't exist.
In the UAE, the map of Israel exists.
Yes. Thank you so much. Shukran.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. That was good.
Only got some half my questions.